Another Magic Key is now sold out, and we've got questions. Disney, its cast and cast member unions are kind of going through some things right now. And Christmas candy canes are returning to the Disneyland Resort. All this coming up next on Fresh Page. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to this week's news update from around the Disneyland Resort. You've probably heard that Disney has announced that the Believe Key is now sold out, and this is now the second Magic Key that has sold out since the passes became available just in July. Meanwhile, Walt Disney World is doing kind of the same thing, except they're pausing their annual pass sales for every pass except for the Pixie Pass, which is, as I understand it, the lowest level pass, the one for Florida residents only. I'm not sure what the difference is between sold out and paused, but that's the language that Disney used in each specific situation. In any case, the conversation here isn't so much what they've done, but the questions. Why? Why are they pausing or saying that passes are sold out? Now, when the Dream Key sold out, when Disney announced that they were no longer selling the Dream Key, it happened during a period when it was very difficult to get any kind of reservation as a Dream Key holder. People were asking, what is the point of even owning a Magic Key or an annual pass if the next reservation you could make was 2 months from now? That is not how these types of passes are supposed to work out. At least that's not how consumers felt they should be working out. But before any guest could decide not to buy the Dream Key because of the situation, Disney made the first move and just stopped selling them. But it sure hasn't seemed to solve the basic problem that it's very difficult to make reservations. It's still basically impossible to book a weekend unless you plan way ahead 2 or 3 months in advance. And then I noticed something interesting the day before Disney made their Believe Key announcement. Disney had recently replenished the December calendar, and after a day or two, I noticed that the first 2 weeks of December were mostly sold out, while the last 2 weeks were nearly wide open. And this seemed odd to me at first because it seemed reasonable to expect that the last 2 weeks would be more in demand than the first 2 weeks. And then I realized that the Believe Key was blocked out for those last 2 weeks in December. And then my next thought was that they stopped selling the wrong pass, that it was the Believe Key that was locking up all those dates, or at least doing more than their share. I don't know how accurate that theory is. It all depends on knowing how Disney distributes the reservations through all the multiple buckets of the Magic Keys. But what is true is that the day after I made that observation, Disney announced that they're no longer selling the Believe Key, that it was sold out. But again, it's really not a big deal that they're sold out anyway, because nobody was buying, and nobody would buy. Who in their right mind would buy a Magic Key, a Believe, or a Dream Key under these conditions right now? So it's kind of a you can't fire me, I quit scenario on Disney's part. They canceled or stopped selling these passes before we could tell them we don't want your passes. And again, it begs the question, this is a question that I've been asking for a while now, what is even the point of having a system like this, a Magic Key system or an annual pass system, if there are going to be reservations required? If there's one thing that we can observe from all of this, since July, since the thing rolled out, is that annual passes, aka Magic Keys, and reservations do not mix. They don't go together at all. At least not with respect to what many people consider to be the whole point of having an annual pass, and that is to be able to go without having to plan, just use the pass, show up, not buy a ticket or do anything like that. That is the ideal scenario for a majority of your Magic Key holders, your annual pass holders, at least here in Southern California, at Disneyland. We'll find out what the next chapter is in this story probably after the new year. With the questions, naturally, will they bring those two passes back? Will they offer perhaps a different kind of pass? It's my belief that in the new year, January, February, something like that, one of three things will happen. Disney will sell a fifth pass that has no reservations at all for some crazy outlandish price, and I hesitate to guess what that price might be for fear of giving Disney any ideas on what we'd be willing to pay for a price for a pass like that. But I will say that this is one of the conversations that I've been having with many people about the rollout, the initial rollout of the Magic Key program, and this was they set it up this way to sell us this pass at $1,500 as sort of a loss leader, as a way to invite and to encourage people to come back, and then they roll out the big whopper next year, or when in this case when the new year happens. You didn't like that pass? We got one that'll make you guys happy, but instead of paying $1,500 for it, it's going to be something else. So that's option number one. A second option might be that Disney changes the number of reservations that let's say the Dream Key could make. Instead of 6, maybe they make it 8 or 10 with an increase in price also. Or Disney might start selling extra reservations beyond the initial 6 a la carte. And it's this last one that I feel like is pointed directly at guests like me. And I think that it's probably the most likely scenario because that's the way things are trending right now. So much of what we're buying today, and it's not just Disney or, it's a lot of different situations. Everything is being sold a la carte these days. But I do think one of those 3 things is going to happen. Question is, how is that going to go over? I'm not sure. I, for one, would probably be interested in any of those scenarios, to be honest, because I like to go to the park a lot. And even though I've been able to get to the park whenever I want to, for the most part, it's just way too stressful. And it's way too time consuming in terms of, your mental, you just got to be thinking about it all the time. And some people just aren't down for that. Some people just want to take it easy and they're willing to pay the price to not have to worry about that kind of thing. I feel like Disney's going to win on this battle. I feel like Disney's going to figure out a way to carve out more income from this. And really, to be honest, as we said a long time ago, when we first started talking about the ideas of annual pass, I kind of don't blame them. I mean, I don't like it, obviously, but I kind of don't blame them. The pass system that they had before, where it was go whenever you want for $1,400, $1,500, that was a pretty good deal for people like us who like to go to the park all the time. I don't know if I'm speaking for the majority here or not, but just from my perspective. So this is not surprising. If this kind of thing does happen, it would not surprise me at all, and I probably would be into it. Okay, next up, and the bad news for Disney department is that Disney, its cast members, and their unions are going through a contract negotiation right now. Well, actually, it's not a negotiation anymore. They had been going back and forth for a couple months now. Disney's first offer was something like a 50-cent raise from $15 to $15.50 with no consideration to long-term cast members. That got zero response from the unions. Then they upped their offer to $17 an hour, which seems like a decent lift from $15.50, but still no consideration for long-term cast members who have been in the employ of Disney for 10 years or more. And then finally, Disney did add some consideration, $17 an hour plus a one-time bonus for those long-term cast members, 10 years or more, of $2,000 if you're full-time and $1,000 if you're part-time. This offer was deemed decent enough for them to take that to a vote, and vote they did a couple weeks ago. Actually, I take that back. It was a split vote. The DCA cast voted yes, narrowly, but the Disneyland cast voted no, and it wasn't very narrow. It was a pretty sound defeat. Now, Disney's response to this no vote was not to up their offer to counter again. Instead, they basically called the union's bluff. They dared them to strike. They reiterated that the $17 an hour was their last, best, and final offer, but they did allow the Disney cast member unions to re-vote, essentially asking cast members, are you sure? We're going to find out how sure they are on December 2nd. That's when the re-vote will happen. And I'll say this, I cannot fathom what will happen if it's another no vote. Obviously, it's a really bad situation for Disneyland cast members. They've all got rent due, Christmas is coming up. It's not a great time to be out of work. But it may be an even worse situation for Disney. It would be a terrible look for Disney in a time when they're going through a whole series of other terrible looks. Pretty much nobody's going to take Disney's side on this. In a battle between cast members and the Disney company, everybody's going to take the cast members' side. And it would just be another reason for fans to grow even more weary of being dragged through things, from Disney. So I'm kind of curious why they have this apparent sense of, confidence, optimism that they can say that this is their last and best final offer. I'm kind of curious what contingency plans they might have, because here's what happens. If the cast members do vote no and they do strike, we're, again, just like cast members, Disney's in the middle of a holiday season. Biggest time of the year, the busiest time of the year. And they're going to go with a skeleton crew of cast? I don't know how they pull this off. I don't know how they hire a bunch of new cast and train them in the middle of that holiday season. It is a very bad situation, both pragmatically, on the ground, in the parks, and, as I mentioned, in the public eye. I can't imagine a worse time for this to happen, not just seasonally, but just in terms of what's going on with the Disney company, what's going on around the world. I can't imagine a worse time for Disney to have a strike on their hands. And it actually makes me think that this could be a reason why they have been apparently hesitant to increase capacity in the parks. I do still feel like they are holding back some of that capacity. I don't know what the number is right now. I'm hearing varying reports. I don't know how much of it is true. Impossible to vet. But I can tell you this, the parks are not as busy as they could be. And it makes me think that part of the reason why that is, part of the reason why the dates aren't being replenished as often as we had hoped they would be on the calendar for Magic Key holders is because they're hesitant about being maybe overbooked. Again, this is speculation on my part, food for thought, something to think about. I'm looking forward to resolution on this on December 2nd. I hope cast members get what they want. That's the bottom line for me. I love Disneyland. I love the Disney company, but above all else, I love Disneyland cast members, and I want them to feel happy and taken care of. I hope they get what they want, even if that's a yes vote on December 2nd for the $17 an hour. Lastly, we'll end with some positive news. Christmas candy canes are coming back. I didn't think they would be, but Disney just announced the other day that they are coming back a little bit later than usual, but they are coming back. Per the parks blog, candy canes will be available on December 7th, 9th, 15th, 21st, and 23rd at the Candy Palace on Main Street, Disneyland, and on December 8th, 14th, 16th, and 22nd, they're going to be available at Trolley Treats on Buena Vista Street in California Adventure. Now, unlike in years past where they used the wristband system, this year they're going mobile waitlist only. No wristbands, no standby. And that kind of takes some of the charm out of it. For me, buying a Christmas candy cane was as much about the ceremony as it was about the actual candy cane. In fact, I don't think I've eaten 2 out of the 3 candy canes that I purchased. I just like the nostalgia of it, the vintageness of it, the actual idea of buying a hand, rolled candy cane right there on Main Street, getting in line and going through that whole process was really magical for me. I don't know if I'll be buying one this year, but if you're into it for the candy canes, then there you go. You've got yourself an opportunity to buy, just something that is actually quite legendary. The Christmas candy canes at Disneyland are legendary. As a matter of fact, if you're interested in seeing how that goes before you make a decision to buy one this year, we did a video on this back in 2019. Stay tuned at the end of this video. We'll show you some clips of how that went. It's pretty fun. By the way, I forgot to add, per the parks blog, once the mobile list is activated, you can add your name and phone number at the location to get a text back with the return time. So naturally, you need a reservation. You got to be in the park in order to get one of these. And with that, follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked, on Twitter at FreshBakedDisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakedDisney. And if you like our show and would like to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. We would appreciate it very much. Otherwise, we love you guys. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked. And then you get wristbands right here. There's a queue for the wristbands. Hey, what's up? They're hustling through this. It's a quick process. It looks like the line is going to be long and arduous, but it really is not.
Ooh, oh, it's so magical.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's like they're putting a baby on a scale to find out how much it weighs.
They're like,
Is it 7 pounds, 9 ounces?
Look how shiny they are.
Season's greetings, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the merriest place on earth.
Don't mess with me and my candy cane scissors.
And so we hope that your visit with us today will be a most pleasant.
That's the guy from the video that Disney put out. About how they make him, yeah.
Yours in abundance.
He's a featured candy cane artist.
And those around you.
Now, I know that this looks scary, Fresh Baked. It looks very scary, this queue that goes all the way down to the Carnation Cafe. But as I mentioned, it's an easy thing. Now, this is a holiday tradition that goes back to 1968. They've been making these for quite a while. If you're interested, it's right about the same time this year, like right around Thanksgiving. They'll do a day. They'll start here, and then they'll rotate between the Candy Palace here on Main Street and Trolley Treats over at DCA on Buena Vista Street. So if you miss this,
I mean, the reason why it's so packed right now is because everybody wants to do this the first day. This is the first day, the first morning. These are the first candy canes that can be purchased. But as you know, as the days go by, it gets a little easier, a little less intense. But obviously, everybody wants to be the first. Go here, go to DCA Trolley Treats, and get yourself a candy cane. And as a matter of fact, what's cool about this is why it's such a tradition here at Disneyland is that they make them right here in that little room, right there in the Candy Palace. They're literally making the candy canes that you buy in that tiny little room. They've been at it since we've been awake. Okay, we got here at 7 in the morning. There are already candy canes ready to go. They've been making these since 5 in the morning. They pull them, they roll them, everything right there in that little cube of magic. Now, once you get your wristband, which they're handing out right there, once you get your wristband, they'll give you a time to come back because they still got to make more. They don't have them all ready for you here in the Candy Palace. They make them throughout the day. So depending on when you get here to get your wristband, you have to come back at the time stated on your wristband. But if you get here super early like we did, they have them ready for you. And lo and behold, look at that. There is our beautiful holiday candy cane from Disneyland.